Hey, there we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your time zone. How's it going? Good day. Welcome. My name is Jeff Fritz, and it is November 13th, 2018, and we're going to write a little code today. Welcome back to my live stream. I want to make sure, I want to call out first, before I get into too much here, I'm wearing my Doctor Strange, my Eye of Agamotto hat. There you can see Doctor Strange on the brim. There he is. Right? There you go. I'm wearing Captain America shirts. I want to show the love for our dearly departed Stan Lee. Stan was a huge influence. His products, his stories were a huge influence on my life. The guy wrote more stories, more characters that inspired so many of us. Not just the movies, the comics, the whole genre. The guy really did so much to bring joy to all of us as children, as teens, as adults, and to be able to share that with my family is something that's been amazing. And it's Stan passed. Thank you so much, Stan, for everything, all the joy that you've brought to the world. You will be missed. All right. I want to talk a little bit about GDPR again today, that Data Privacy Act from our friends in Europe. We want to spend some time looking at that and digging a little bit further into how we're managing user information, see if we can finish cleaning that up. We've got a pull request from our friend Jürgen. I see him in the chat room there. I want to talk about that and take a look, because I think there's a bug fix that just missed deployment here. So we'll take a look at that today. But first, let's get a little music playing in the background here today. And you know what? I'm getting a little bit of bleed through here. I'm going to play gold today for. There we go. This is, of course, music to flow by. This is music written by our friend Carl Franklin. It's scientifically designed to get you in the flow, get you in the groove, so that all your worries fade away and you can focus on whatever task you may have at hand. You can download, you could purchase all of the songs at mtcb.pwop.com, or of course you can get the app for your phone, or you can even download stuff right from their website at musictoflowby.com. Hey, chat room, it's so good to see you today. Thanks for stopping by. Let me change scenes here. Let's jump right over here. I want to say hello to the chat room. Good morning, good afternoon. And Bardaki's here. Coated Beard. Is it Road Runner? Yeah, I think it's Road Runner. Franklin89 is here. Hello, Eckerd. How's it going? Hugo Dahl. Good morning to the chat room as well, along with you and the rest of the good people here in here. Absolutely. There's Jürgen, hello, and Welsh Ronaldo, Jester98, Salaticus, Codair, Ancient Coder. Hey, there's Frank, good morning. Turrican is here. M. Sapient, oh, I always pronounce that wrong. Yes, sad news about Stan. Maker Blaker, hello. Is that not my actual background? No, it's a lie. It's a lie. Right, I've done this before. Let's, where'd it go? Where did it go? If I bring up the filters, it is absolutely a lie. Fake news. It's not real. There you go. That's why I'm glowing a little green. Yeah, there's a little green trim around me because I sit so close to my green screen. Roadrunner, oh, there you go. Meep. Hey, Lannon BR, good morning. Naughty, yes. Had to start with unit testing yesterday. Was glad you'd already seen a bunch of it. Hey, that's great, Bardaki. So, you'll see I have the Microsoft Connect image now in the ad box in the corner. Of course, Microsoft Connect will be taking place, it is 3 weeks from today. 3 weeks from right now is the keynote. No pressure. Hope you don't have to go near User Manager with those tests. Oh, Welsh Ronaldo. You're right. Hey, Clark IO, good morning. Good to see you. And Sedefard. Say Edifard? Let me make sure I'm pronouncing that right. Let me know. And good to see you. Just Your Own Code and WCF Services. Well, WCF Services usually have a pretty good interface in front of them that you'll be able to work with. So you should be able to mock those out without too much pain. All right, and there's Code Project. They're a great partner that I've been doing work with for a long time. Always a fan of the Code Project website. Now, first thing I want to talk about is something that our friend Jürgen there, and he's here in the chat room, so we can talk through this a little bit. There was a question, a pull request from Jürgen because he ran into some problems with the seeding of admin data. And I think this may have run into a little bit of what we were fixing last time. So if you joined me on Sunday, we saw a little bit of a problem with the user manager properly creating users from the first start page. And I have a feeling that's what Jürgen ran into here, because it didn't, right? You couldn't log in with the, right? Had troubles logging in with the admin user live on Twitch. We debugged and found the seeding of the admin user was commented out and didn't work. Right. It was commented out because we now have the first start project that should launch automatically for you and start filling in some of that information. Because of this change, we also need to change user administration because the on-post update roles tries to find by username and using the find by email async method instead. That feels like a good bug fix that we're going to need in the admin section, because we've now changed the way that we manage users in our application. Was there a reason to comment out the seeding of the admin user? Yes, we should be creating the admin user now in first start. So let's take a look at what's happening here. And I think I know where Jürgen went here. Default admin username, default email, and then seeded it by creating them in the database, yeah. So remove the comments so that it went and created the user. This one here, I think, is one that we are going to need to take. Find by email or find by name. I think we're going to need this. But the fact remains, I think we're just a little bit short here on when you download and you try to use it the first time, that database configuration, right? That one little bit there that we use to identify whether or not it's a first start scenario, we may need just a little bit more than that. So here's what I want to do. I don't want to discard Jürgen's suggestion here, because while I do want to remove the concept of the default admin, I think this is going to be a valid fix. Because we're changing, right, we're receiving a username to add a role to, and we're doing find by email, when now we are in fact using usernames. So our application should now be managing users by username, not by email address. That should be a secondary thing. So what I'd like to do is let's bring this down and let's work on this locally. And maybe we need to add a secondary check to make sure that, in fact, there is an admin user in the database, and decide whether to pop up that first start set of pages. What do you think, chat room? Does that sound like a good first step here to get this fixed? Because I think what Jürgen may have run into is, if I back up here and look at the code, if you look in Core Wiki, right now, right, the detection to decide whether to start that first start wizard that says, oh, what's your admin username and password, is that bit right there. And by default right now, it's filled in when you clone the database. The first start check is already in. Let's take a look. And then my goal is I don't want to scaffold a default admin. I don't want that in the database. I understand why you put it back. But let's see what we can do to avoid the need for that. So I'm not going to squash and merge, but I'm going to grab the command line instructions here. And let's jump over to my core wiki folder here and bring down a copy of that. Cool. And let's start Visual Studio. I've gotten into this habit now before I start the stream, about a half hour, 45 minutes before the stream. I've gotten into this habit of applying all the updates to Visual Studio, which feels weird, but yeah, right? Gotta make sure I have the latest Visual Studio stuffs. All right, here we go. So, I want to go over to seed admin user, default admin user, and I just seed, come on. I'm going to end up removing end-depend. Seed default admin user. That's where I want to go. I do want this commented out. I don't want it to do anything. So I'm just going to say return task completed task. Come on. Thank you. Right, is it just an await there so that I can get the... come on. And here's where I blank. I want to just return that task. Yeah, it won't do that because this is an async method and it's static. Yeah, the admin user wasn't seeded. Not just that, but it was probably, right, that configuration was probably already there. So it doesn't matter that it's static, it's this async, right? Right, trying to just return task, completed task. Right now it's choking. It's an async method. A return keyword must not be followed by an object expression. Yeah. Come on. And I can't return that. And if I just return that, it still doesn't like it. And if I just return, that feels bad too, because now I'm not returning a task. I'll move on. The problem that I think we have is going to be down here in first start when we look at the first start configuration. No. Here, where we do the branch, and we decide, well, only when the first start is incomplete, are we going to jump into our first start configuration. And all it's doing is saying, well, is the data provider empty? And that's right. That's literally just checking for the presence of that one field, which I have a feeling is always going to pass. So I think we also need to put in here, does the user manager have any users in the admin role? Which means I need to pass user manager into this, which means that where this is being added up here, oh, wait a sec, maybe not. Here, where I'm actually using the configuration, maybe I can pass user manager in here. What do you think? Right, so if I receive iUser manager of, it's not iUser manager, it's user manager of type core wiki user, and I call it user manager. And I'm going to need to control dot into some of these. Okay. So then, when I say is first start incomplete, I also need to pass into that the user manager. So use when. And this is also going to pin an instance of that user manager into my application, into... This is run once. So that I'm going to get the user manager at start, and it's going to hang out here forever. Which might not be a good thing. You know? I could reach into app and get it each time. Not into app. Do I get it the first time and just stash a copy of it? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Right, so if I have something here that says, is admin created, and then I can reach into user manager and say, I don't want to, if I say get roles, it's going to return a list. And it's roles for a specific user. If I say get user, no. And if I go get all of the users and iterate through them, get users in role. Right, and the role name that I'm going to be fetching is, of course, let's get rid of this, get rid of that, configure, get rid of this, get rid of that, here. We add them to administrator role, which is administrators. Hello. Thank you. Get users in role async. Now that's an async, so let's await that. And let's say when count is greater than 0. The await operator can only be used. Yeah, get users in role async. Yeah. Why didn't it like that? And right, that's a task. So I want to await that. You stink. Right, if I await that, right, that's going to give me a collection of admin users. Now, why doesn't it? Oh, wait, this is an async method. No, it's yeah. 4P3S has it right. This method is not awaitable. So I'm going to need to, let's call this is admin user created, right? And we're going to need to do this, right? Get awaiter, get result. And then I can say count greater than 0. And that'll give me a Boolean that says whether or not it is. Thank you. All right, so now I'll know if the admin user is created, but I really should put that into a static up here. Let's make it in private static. Is admin user created? I will start it with false. Oh, need to make it a Boolean. So now I've calculated it the first time through, right? So the first start will go and calculate this, and then we're going to return, is first start incomplete? First check will be that the data provider is set, and then is admin user created? And it is incomplete if admin user is not created. All right, so I flip that over, so now this should return. Now what I do need to do to ensure that that always returns, to ensure that we get that notice and it properly flips, I'm going to need to add a method here. So I will create an internal static void created admin user. And let's just set that to true when my index page finishes actually creating the user. Here, this. Right, so when I finish this now, so I need to reach into startup extensions and notify it. I created the admin user, and it'll go and set that so that the next time through, it properly detects and flips it appropriately. And actually, is it ever... Let's think about this. Hang on. Is it ever actually going to hit that? Because... Write the config file to disk. We mark this as completed. When it writes the config file to disk... Right, so we mark this as completed. It returns the page, and the page... Let me scroll down here. Right, it has... Yeah, when it returns the page, it kicks off the restart. So you know what? I never actually do need that check to go and reset. Ha-ha! See that? Don't need that. It just always is. Right? So, let's do this. Let's do this to test. My app settings would have SQLite in here, but let me go move my identity database. I don't have one up right now. Core wiki. Here. App data. I'm going to get rid of this one, and I'm going to take this. Oh, I don't need that many. And I'll get rid of that. And now let's start this. That we try to set up a new admin in Core Wiki by following the instructions in the README. Yes, there we go. So there's something else we're going to need to do. Is we're going to need to update the instructions. Good. Oh, good catch, Jurgen. Didn't expect that the first start wizard is already almost complete and baked in. Yeah. No, actually, we've merged it. There was no argument given. Oh, I need to now also pass in user manager. Yep. Which is right there, actually. And that should work. Shouldn't the evaluation be an and or question mark if DB is not set or no admin user? You might be right. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. You might be onto something, Stelzy. Let's take a look. Come on. Do. So there is no wiki identity DB. We'll get this running. The project first start branch should be closed. It should be closed and removed. All right, so there we are. We're on the home page. I shouldn't be on the home page. Oh, it scaffolded the admin user, didn't it? It's 100K there. That's a lot. That's a lot. Not wiki content. cdev, core wiki, app data, this one, users, yeah, browse table. Okay, there are no users. So where'd it go? Right, it should have come in here, and it should have set that. Is admin user created should have been false. Let's double check this. Let's see. You know, it would be awesome to have something on GitHub for when you push a PR to tell you you need to update docs if you haven't done so yet. You might be onto something there, Lennon. Yeah. Okay. Is admin user created is false. It didn't find it, so that's correct. So is first start complete down here? Okay, there we go. So if it's incomplete, so that's false. So stringer is null or empty. Oh, you're right. Who was it? Stelzy, you're right. This should be an or. Oh, no. To be incomplete. Yes, you're right. It should be an or. Good catch, Stelzy. Good catch. Hey, Parathon. Good to see you. And it's a thing. Ooh, there is. Oh, that's kind of cool. A few hours of trial and error, yeah. Can save you several minutes of looking at the README. Okay, fine. So that should route down now into first start. Where's my browser? There we go. So now I'm in first start. So now admin username is this, admin display name, admin email address, whatever. There we go. Password is something complicated, whatever, go. And now restarting. Hey, now we're in. And I should be able to log in with that user. Did I make it that? What did I make it? I've created so many users for this. There we go. Cool. So that works, and I think that answers a little bit of Jurgen's problem around not having an admin user, even though it's been coded for that. So let's also go over to it was in the user admin, wasn't it? Right? What was the other file? Because I think that one's right. Pages user admin, identity, pages user admin index. And you made a change there on 55. Yeah. So if we're receiving usernames, we do need to find by name. I'm good with that. I'm going to go back over to the seed admin user. And I'm going to remove this. I think I've got an extra. I do. This used to seed the admin information. Now we are loading from the first start wizard. Cool. And really, this is only referenced in one place, right? So you know what? I could just remove it from here and delete the file altogether. Let's do that. Let's do that instead. Because I'm always in favor of deleting. I think that works a little bit better. All right. Let's make sure all my unit tests still work. Because I've made that mistake a couple times. Ugh. All right. Let the unit tests run. Do their thing. Let's see what else is going on here. Tom Van Scotter mentioned us on Twitter. Thank you so much, Tom. I don't see Shipstreams making the announcement that we started today. Interesting. All right. Improve test performance by updating my test adapters. Would. Okay. Before I do anything with that, these tests work. Everything looks like it's running properly. I'm going to go and I'm going to commit these changes. I'm going to merge in my changes with what Jürgen gave us. Updated first start detection. Yeah. And then there we go. And then we'll merge in these changes. Where is it? Conversation. There we go. This bit right here. Why won't you copy? Why won't you paste? Paste. There we go. Merged, push. Fantastic. And this pull request is merged. Thanks for picking up on this issue. I'll update the README to indicate that the first user should be created, the first admin user should be created using the new first start wizard. Very cool. Thanks so much for that pull request. And it did highlight and pick that out. PR doesn't make too much sense except the find by name. Yep, you're right. So let's go down here in the README. Deploy your own instance, contributing, features. Yeah, we got to clean up that archive there. Where'd it go? Create a new administrator to get rid of it. So this, we can clean up here. Get rid of that. Let me do this. The best thing you can do for your users as a developer is write more documentation. And we're going to write some right now. Here we go. Register a new account. It won't have administrator rights. Correct. I feel like I need to get rid of this altogether because you should be getting the first start. You shouldn't see this problem any longer, as the latest versions of CoreWiki now support an initial start wizard that allow you to create a default admin. Hey, Sweaty Omar. Yes, I am wearing my Doctor Strange Eye of Agamotto hat. Let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. I feel like I can just remove this. I'm going to remove this. Now, if you are using an older version of CoreWiki, follow these steps. And then I can get rid of that. I think that works. Yep, that's fine. Ninja Ola started to work on an ASP.NET Core app for personal use and training, but in research I've encountered several versions of User Manager, User Service. I'm feeling they have the same functions, but different names depending on who's coding. You should see User Manager in ASP.NET Core. User Service you may have seen in ASP.NET. Make sure you're not confusing the two. Sometimes people with blog posts and documentation that they're writing, it collides, and you may see some things for older ASP.NET appearing when you search for ASP.NET Core. So you shouldn't see that problem with ASP.NET Core going forward. And I think when you look at our code that we're working on here, Ninja Ola, we're using User Manager significantly. User Manager is the object that ASP.NET Core identity makes available to you. And then and what you may see is some people will wrap User Manager in a service object so that they can be abstracted away from it and they don't run into some unit testing issues like we ran into the other day. So, good question. Let me know what you think of that. Support or include. Cool. And Ninja Ola, if you run into some places where you're confused about that, drop me a line on Twitter. Start a question. Start a conversation in our Discord. Gosh, we have a Discord. You can you can find the link to it down below here on the Twitch wall, and join us. I'm always there answering questions. Hey, Mr. Regs, good to see you. What is that? FFZ supporter. I'm not familiar with that. Neat. They were called providers. You're right. That's my hunch, Ninja Ola. That's my hunch. If you do find an article that is kind of confusing about that, like I said, drop me a line either in Discord or Twitter, and let's talk about it. Let's see if we can fix that. Get those folks who wrote those articles a little bit of help. You shouldn't see this problem any longer as the latest versions of CoreWiki now support an initial, now include an initial start wizard. Maybe. Yeah. All right, Hugo. Let's change that to now include an initial start wizard that allows you to create a default admin user and a default administrator user. If you're using an older version of CoreWiki, follow these steps. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Cool. Now, I want to pick up, you know what, let's bring that in next. But let's also address this test adapters running slow thing. I'm currently working in a different branch because I am doing a fix over here. Come here. There we go. So I have a couple of extra branches here. And we should have deleted that. Oh no, there is Project First Start. I think we can delete the the branch because we've merged everything. So chat room, I'm going to... Oh, wow, Mr. Rex. You flipped the Frankers upside down. I didn't know you could do that. Let's get rid of... I want to get rid of the first start project because I think we've merged everything there. This is where I'm working, is in feature remove author name. All right. So let's go back to here. Get checkout feature. No, that one. All right. And the yes. I should merge in the things in dev. Simplify my process later. And I'm okay that it's 4 out of sync here. That's fine. Yep, go ahead, restart. That's weird looking. That's weird. When we ran, there was a message that came up that said, oh, your stuff could run so much faster. Your tests could run so much faster. Let's take a look at that. Because that looks weird. Right? Like, these lines are completely off. Okay, now that message isn't popping up. Weird. All right. It was NuGet Package Manager. Manage packages for solution. We wanted to find, I think it's the test adapters. XUnit runner. This one. So it wants me to go to 241 for that. If we're going to update this one, we should also update that. I want to make sure if I'm making updates to my test project, let's make sure we're updating all of them at the same time. What am I really using that? I didn't think I was. All right, fine. And then let's do those updates. See if we can get this to run a little bit faster, maybe. Installing, good. Yeah. Does anybody ever actually read that dialogue that pops up? It says, oh, we're going to make all these changes, legal, blah. I feel like people just look at that and they go, yeah, go away. I don't need to see this. Does anybody really actually read that thing? Nope. Move along. Bardaki does. Oh, there you go. What's it want me to consolidate? ASP.NET Core app. All right, fine, do it. Consolidate. So Core Wiki has 211. Core Wiki Test has 215. Ooh, look at this. Interesting. Hadn't seen that. It's wonderful to read them when you want to fall asleep. Okay, that's one thing. Oh, Stelzy. So here's the thing, right? I can trigger that right now. Because I think I've found why it's happening. It's going to happen right now. It's going to happen right now. Watch. There it is. It happens while I have Visual Studio running. If I don't have Visual Studio running, it doesn't happen. But the second time it runs, it doesn't have the problem. Every other time, it fails. Every other time. right? As soon as Visual Studio triggers a build, it'll block this, and I'll be prevented from doing anything. So if I just add a space there, and I'll rerun this, and it's going to break. There it is. Here it comes. Here it comes. Look out. It worked that time. When VS is not open, it works just fine. But it's full Visual Studio, and it crashes, right? If it just is hanging out there. So I can reproduce it, yes, on a very regular basis. So, but as I do work in here, you'll see it will, it will fail. So, let's go back to talking about usernames, GDPR, privacy information, and we had some really good discussion about it. And it started down here with being able to delete users. We're in the middle of display names. This one from oh, that's Robert Tables. We'll get back to, because this is a little bit further enhancement. This is like our privacy protection on steroids. But when we try to delete users, there's a bunch of discussion here. What do we do with the articles they created, their comments, and abide by GDPR? Woodcraft said whether the user wants to be deleted as part of GDPR, shouldn't the articles and comments just be anonymized? That I agree with. This, I think, is the correct thing. And Jurgen jumps in and says the user needs to be anonymized instead, because it doesn't create dead users. So there's a couple of things that are still going on here. When a user deletes themselves, when they say, forget me, I don't, right? This is one of those features of GDPR. When I no longer want to be part of this application, I have a user ID that's right now a GUID sitting in the database, right? So it's that really long string that folks are not going to want to try to remember and pass around. And we don't want our users to have to find that and pass it around. We've started removing references to the user's display name in the application. Good. You know, that works. Let me kick off that test again, see if it runs significantly faster now that we installed things. You're not concentrating today. That's okay, Atif. In London at SDDConf. Oh, very cool. With Jeff Prosise. Say hello to my good buddy Jeff Prosise for me. Tell him I'm out here broadcasting and singing his praises. Great guy, Jeff Prosise. I don't think I know who .NET Gator is. And Jeff is saying hello to me. Fantastic. All right. The other proposal makes more sense. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. There are a couple different solutions. You could randomize and have anonymous folks in the application. But what I think we can do is start pulling back. And he waved back. At some point, I've got to have Jeff on the show here. Because two Jeffs are better than one. See how that works? See how that works? Okay. The primary problem that we have with personally identifiable information, and that's sometimes what you'll see folks refer to here, right? You'll see this acronym PII. That's personally identifiable information. You'll see folks on Twitch, on Reddit refer to the publishing of this information as doxing someone, right? It's very invasive, and it can create a problem because you're publishing documentation about where someone lives, their phone numbers, some of that private information that you just don't want shared on the internet. So that information that is being shared in a doxing attack is personally identifiable information, or PII. At some point, we should prevent storage of that, or at least give a way to get rid of it. But we're starting with the right to forget. And that includes displaying folks' names and not their email addresses when people browse and use our application. Not app settings. We don't need that. So I've started turning this over so that it's using the display name of a user. But that display name is still being stored with the article. According to our lawyer at work, a GUID is still seen as an identifiable thing. I'd love to hear more about that discussion. If that GUID is not made public, while yes, it is personally identifiable, it is personally identifiable as a. If it was published, if that GUID was published somewhere, right? And in fact, they're a GUID, right? And I'm using the term loosely here, but for folks who aren't familiar with the term, let me open Notepad. Right? You're hearing me say, it sounds like I'm saying GUID. No, I'm actually saying GUID, GUID, right? Which stands for globally. Right, globally. Now what's it stand for? Globally unique identifier. I thought it was universal for a second. I'm like, wait, that's not right. Globally unique identifier. There we go. Thank you. For some reason, I thought that I started thinking, oh, it's universal. Yeah, globally unique identifier. I knew that. Anyways, so you have these globally unique identifiers that, right, you pass around, and they could be related to anything. Yeah, there you go. UUID, the universally unique identifier. And there's trillions of these numbers out there. Literally, you are never going to duplicate them. You're just not. It can be identifiable if there is, yes, Hugo, if there is a way to correlate it. If that isn't published, if it's an internal key, who cares? Never say never. And there are people who hear the word never or always, and they take it as their mission in life to disprove that, which means we can't have nice things. So, yes, GUID is an implementation of the Universally Unique Identifier, the UUID, by Microsoft. So by passing that user ID around, I'm okay with that. I should be okay protecting and keeping that information. And when you look at my article object, having the author ID here as a GUID, as that identifier, so that I can say, this is the person who worked on this article, fine. You know, that's not too bad, because my user object, if I look at my user object, not in app data, in identity, I have, where'd it go? Core wiki user. Here it is. So our identity user has a, not just a string for the username. Where's the ID? There it is. Has an ID here. And if I back up, the ID is a string, but it's actually a GUID. Depending on how you interpret GDPR, it can be impossible to meet the requirements. Agreed, 4P. And that's something that some lawyer is going to end up fighting at some point. What I believe we can do is delete our users from our user storage and leave those keys over in the article, and then put some sort of an anonymous entry next to it when we display the user's name. Hey, Code for Veronica, good to see you. Hello, hello. Woo! Thanks for stopping by. So let's finish going through here. I've removed references to the admin's display name being saved with the article. But when we now display our articles, I want to make sure that we do show, here's the current author who last modified this. The feeling when you've become somewhat comfortable code-wise developing user systems for client, but then GDPR comes along and you're too afraid to write a single line of code. Well, Kazru, that's when I grab the lawyers and tell them to sit with me and say, tell me where I'm doing this wrong. Help me figure out what we can do to fix this. Here's everywhere that we have user information. Let's appropriately hide or remove it. Okay, so we're not actually showing the current author on the front, on the article. That is something that we could address in the future. We only see it here in history, and here's where, right, I'm still not done my fix here. AutoMapper created this type map, but your types cannot be mapped. Article reading DTO into article history, and it's missing stuff. Now, my unit tests should have failed on this. Let's stop. Go to my test explorer. We should see some failing tests here, right? Right, I should see some errors here because it isn't building properly. Or, right, it's going to run into, nope. And it was article reading DTO. Let's see here, let's do a quick find. Article reading DTO. And I want to find it when it maps to the article history. So it's going to be in one of these profiles. You know what I mean? So this is a feature of AutoMapper that we're going to run into. Let's start up here. Thank you. So it's creating a map from article reading DTO into article details. But it's the article history. And I think it did. It closed my rats. Let's start that back up. And history. And it's, okay, in configuration validator. And this is mapper map, article history. Okay, map the article into an article history. So it's trying to map article reading DTO into article history. So article history doesn't have... Hey, Brave Cobra. Our lawyer said personal sticky notes are okay, so I'm guessing I'm building my DB. Yes, we are building your database using sticky notes. There you go. And Fritzbot, that is so wrong. It's not even funny. Hey, Brave Cobra. So I'm removing references to the user here. I think the article history object, right? So I think, all right, this is in line 50 of history CSHTML. So let's go over there. History, this one. Okay, line 50 is here. It's trying to map an article an article reading DTO into an article history. Just go to your office store, buy more, and have management buy more. Yes, that'll go over real well. Can you buy me some more sticky notes? That's not going to go over. That's really not going to go over. All right. Let's I think we need to actually create a profile that forces this, because I think it's AutoMapper is deriving it. So
sticky why notes.
Thank you, Mordecai, for that subscription with Twitch Prime. I appreciate that, and we'll make a donation to Girl Develop It. 3 months in a row. That means you get upgraded now to, I believe it's the red mug you're going to get. Right? Red mug? Red mug? Yep. And you get to use, of course, the .NET bot everywhere here on Twitch. Thanks so much for bringing your Twitch Prime subscription and sharing it with me. All right. So let's create a map. Create map. Right, and the map is going... I forget which order this is. Right. I think I want to go... Is it article reading DTO into an article history? All right. And the one that I want to ignore is going to be author name. Yeah. Ignore. Because I don't want it to copy over and try to create the author name there. Right, we're going to be building that out. We're going to copy that in from somewhere else. And all my tests ran properly on that. So let's take another gander. Let's see if we can get this to run. We are. It's right here. Okay, so there's that page. Cool. So it ignored the author name. So now I have to copy in the author name. Now the author name, well, I should have the author's ID here. So I should be able to look up the author name from the database, from User Manager. So let's jump back over to history. So when we get that back, here we go. So this is in article history. Let's take a look at article history. No, not me. Article history. So there is an author name object here, and I don't have the author ID. Rats. I'm pulling that, though, out of article, which is in article reading DTO. Right? Article reading DTO. I should have an author ID there. Yes. So I'm going to copy that into the article history object so that I have that available to me. And I'll be able to do the lookup. All right. So back over here. So my article, that's only going to give me the top level, isn't it? Right? Do I have user man? I need to also bring in user manager. User manager of type core wiki user. So I can do that lookup. Yep. Yep. All right. User manager equals user manager. So I've got a copy of that now locally. And this is because I'm going to create this read-only reference to load these folks' information. So I'm going to say article dot author name equals user manager. Not find by name, but I want to get by ID. Isn't there a get by ID? Get user. I want to. All right. Is it find user? Find by ID. That's it. And I'm going to pass in the article author ID. Force that to a string. And I need off of that, after it's done, the display name. And now I've got the author's name. But that doesn't give me... Oh no, Lannon. That sounds like a configuration issue in your continuous integration. All right, let's see this. Okay, good. That's a good start. It actually started. But a search or query in your sticky notes DB is not easy to implement. We'll invent one. All right, so if I click through here, boom, object reference is not set to an instance of an object. You're kidding, right? Oh, it didn't find the author. I know why it didn't find the author. Do you know why it didn't find the author? Why didn't it find the author? Because the author's in the other database.
Oh my.
All right. So let's restart that. We enabled Windows support for Travis CI and it tanked. Mac OS and Linux have the same tank, so I'm unsure why it's going on. I thought I had an admin user here. Right? Doesn't Wiki Identity have an admin user? Yeah. Oh. I thought we had an admin user. Well, then we'll force one. I will make it happen. I will make it happen. There's my user ID, which is a piece of personally identifiable information. And the role that I'm going to connect it to is this one. All right, so let me go back to here. I shouldn't have to do this. It should have been in there. Delete that record. No. Right changes. Huh? ASP.NET user roles. There they are. What do we do? What do we do? Right? Restart. It's still, that's weird. Weird. Let's do this. No. Administrator email address, whatever. Right? Ah. Haha. Force that issue. But, right, this. Hang on, close that database. Reopen the database. There's my roles. There's my users, including my new one that I just created. And if I go to user roles, okay, that's the one that I just added, right? User ID 058. 058, that's the one that I just created, admin 1, okay. Yeah, whatever. History. So last updated by is not displaying. It needs to display, Let's take a look at the history page because it looks like we're outputting the wrong field right now. Pages, history, model article author name. We should be pasting that in now. Right there. Right? That should have loaded. That should have loaded. Let's restart this. You support categorization by color in your sticky notes database? Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's good. That's real good. All right, so this should load. Yep. Click through to this. Now, wait a sec. All right. Article author ID is 79dog80. So it's somebody else, and we should find... Oh, you know what? They don't have a display name. Yeah, they don't have a display name because that field didn't exist. Aha! All right. Let's go back to the SQLite browser. Reopen that database. Go back to users. Right, so the only one that has a display name is the last one. So that first one... And this one is... Who's this? I want to edit that, change it to this. Do that. Write the changes. Close the database. And now if I refresh... Yeah, now I've got author name. Fantastic. And that's a one-time thing because of the migration. All right, so now I have an author name, but I still need to go through and update version history so that I have authors for those. So version history, right? Get articles, right? That's the query, and that returns the article reading DTO. And it should be mapping to an article history. Let me look at the article history object. This. It has a read-only collection of article history detail, which has author names in it. And it doesn't have author ID. So we need author ID in here also. Public GUID author ID. Let's fix some of that capitalization. Bring in that thing. Good. So article reading DTO has a collection of slug history DTOs, comment DTOs, so what's it mapping over? Now I could just do a for each on the article history, right? To get those author names. There's any video that you talk about 3-layer projects. What do you mean by 3-layer projects? For each history detail. So you're talking about something that's more like an onion architecture. And we did talk about that in our architecture workshop. So if you go to the YouTube, channel and you look at the architecture playlist, you'll see a bunch of different sessions on all different design architectures. The first one I did with Steve Smith, we talk about that lean and composable onion architecture. Hey, Roller Rat M. Thanks so much for the follow. I don't have a YouTube command. I need one. Right, but it's just youtube.com /Fritz. And that'll get you into my list there. So this is an article history detail. Right now, if I do write history detail dot author name, and then end up doing this for everybody. Right, that could get messy, but not too bad. There's one answer for everything according to one of my professors. It depends. Yes, DevXer. Yes. If you have a consultant working for you and they speak in absolutes, much like a Sith, they're not doing their job. 3-tier MVC I wouldn't consider 3-tier. 3-tier I'd consider, right, client, server, and application. That I would consider more like 3-tier. Boom. All right, so we're not getting the author ID passed through. Let's take a look-see right here. Refresh this. So at this point, the article history object has a history, article history details, and author name, author IDs. Okay, author ID 0 is actually, that's actually a problem. It's not mapping that through. See that? All right, so we need to figure out where it's mapping the article history ID. Presentation, business, and data access layers. Missing fetch on the entity. No, I think it is fetching it, but that history detail. Yeah. There's a map being done for that somewhere. And I'm actually not quite sure where it's coming out of because, right, it's, there's where it converts it from an article into an article history. Is Brave Cobra still here? There he is. So it's mapping it from an article reading DTO into that history. So here's history with slug history DTO. Slug history DTO has the old slug and the new slug. It's not actually the history of the object. Oh, no. No. It has the content. So that does work. Okay. So it's mapping from that. No, it should be coming back, right? So let me restart and we can take a look at the actual article object. And it is in an array, yes. But it is mapping the other fields. Let's take a look. All right, so we look at history and it's going to hang right here. So the article that's being returned, version 7, view count, whatever, published, there's my history. And if I open this up, this doesn't have an article object, doesn't have an old slug. So it actually doesn't have any information about the article ID being passed through it here. So that's why it's not being mapped. Now I could put together a map that says here's how to translate this, because right now it's finding just those fields, those properties that have the same name. So it isn't bringing back the article at all here. Which is, yeah, I think we need an article ID on the slug history object coming back. So we're in here. So, right, there's the... It's not the article, it's the author ID that we need coming back, which would be traversing down this object. And I don't want to traverse down that object, but we should have... Right, I want the author ID here. Yep. Oh my gosh. HHXX, we're getting raided. I've never been raided before. HHXX, thanks so much for the raid. Welcome, raiders. My name is Jeff Fritz. I write code here on Twitch. Thanks so much for coming over and joining us. We're working on a project called Core Wiki. This is an ASP.NET Core project we've been working on using C#. It runs in .NET Core, so it runs everywhere, Windows, Mac, and Linux. And what we're running into today, what we're working on and talking about, is carrying information about our authors, right? This is a wiki application, much like Wikipedia. We're carrying too much information about our authors into the various articles of the wiki. So we want to, for data privacy reasons, pull back on that information. So we're only passing around a unique identifier about the author, and all that privacy information is stored in a GDPR verified location. So thanks so much for joining us, Raiders. It's great to see you. Thanks so much, HHXX, for the raid. I need to work on that alert. It looked a little bit too big there. But thanks so much for joining us. I'm thrilled that you could join us. All right. So author ID. So I want to receive author ID into each of the entries of the history of the article. Call it edited by. It's going to break all my mapping then. So let me come back to that. I might do that. Yeah, let's think about that. So this is being constructed. Where is slug history DTO being constructed? Well, there's a map here from slug history to slug history DTO. So I want to add one more entry in here. So this is using AutoMapper, and I'm telling it here's how to convert from this object to another. And for the author ID, we're going to need to map at runtime. Map from the source object. We're going to reach into the article, not the article. No, I don't have the author ID on slug history. We could create an update method to update the display name for older entries. You're referring to the users. We could do that. That's not too bad. As a one-time migration thing. Yes, we could do that. I think we've got a little bit of an issue here. Because really what I think I need to be pulling is article history. Does the history keep the previous authors? It should be. Yeah. Article history does keep the previous authors. Oh, wait. Article history detail. Each of the line items. Yes, that does keep them. So I think we oh boy. Oh boy. We're going to unwind this here. We're going to do a little spelunking into our data mining, into our data object here, our data. Oh gosh, you'll hear people refer to this as the data graph. Ugh. Here's the problem. That's not going to work. If I look at our article reading DTO, so a DTO is a data transfer object. It's a plain old C# class with a bunch of get sets that allows us to take data and move it across memory boundaries or across system boundaries. This is great for when you're transferring data from one endpoint to another, perhaps using a RESTful service. You might use something like WCF. You might use something like Swagger to pass that data. But we're crossing a memory boundary right now. So what we need to do is we need to pass some information across these boundaries. And this is our article reading data transfer object. It carries along with it the history of the slug. The slug is the name of this article transformed so that it's URL encoded and it's appropriate for sticking at the end of the address, right? It's got a little bit of search engine optimization so it doesn't look ugly. It looks friendly to folks. Don't go reading the history, as that would complicate things just because previously we weren't keeping it. No, we have the history. We have the history. It's not attached to this DTO. We have the slug history. We don't have the article history as a DTO being passed along here. So our data transfer objects are sitting... Is it in the abstractions? No. Where are those DTOs? Hey, Stefan, 1992. Thanks so much for following. Let me see. Reading, DTO, article reading, DTO, and then we have slug history. So we don't have right now an article history DTO. Right? We have article history as a domain object over here. We should also have article history as a data access object here. And it is properly being saved with the information about the author to the database. We're good there. Don't think we'd need it either now. What do you mean we don't need it? Let me know what you're talking about. What I'm thinking is we should carry that forward. When you are reading, there is no UI that asks for it. Sure there is. The article history user interface. Where's my... Here we go. This user interface. It asks for the author. So, right, we're displaying... This is article history that's being displayed. And in fact... I'll go you one further. What's being displayed there is actually a slug history, which shouldn't be updated unless there's a change to the slug. So I think we've got this crisscrossed a little bit here. The history that's coming out in our article reading DTO and going into our article history here is correct. The slug history should not have been used there. It should be the article history that's being used there. But the actual article history had to be used. It's not. It's not. Right? Article history and slug history look the same. So it's mapping it and it's being triggered. Don't go pushing the author name in slug history now then either. Agreed. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of that because it's not in there. So let's remove it from there, but it should be over here in article history. And the article reading DTO, while we might need slug history here, I need an article history. So that we're transferring information about the article history. And actually, I'm going to change this, make that. There's one reference to this, and it is when it's doing the post. Yeah. I'm going to rename that to, right, this is a get article with histories by slug query. Yeah, I'm going to rename this to slug history so it is more descriptive. Because this is the actual, let's call this article history. I think you could have asked this many times. Isn't it a bit late to adhere to GDPR? This is a brand new application. So Jens, yeah, this is a little bit late. Because it's a brand new application. So we haven't run into it, right? We're not updating an existing application for this. All right, so now I need an article history DTO, and I'm going to put that next to my slug history one. Somewhere up in here. Right, public class, article history DTO. And let me grab article history. Let's put this side by side with where I'm going to write my article history. So I'm going to need a property. Okay. I'm going to need the author ID. That is a good author ID. And in my user interface, so I have the version. Let me put a string here for the author name. Even though that's more of a... No, don't need it. That's more of a view model concern. Int for the version. And we'll need the update date. There it is. Public instant published. Right there. Public instant published. Instance a Noda time feature. I don't really need the yeah, let's bring the content. Ugh. Not context. Content. There we go. It's new. Yeah. They came into force in May. You're right, Jens. You are absolutely right. They did come into force. Yep. You are absolutely right. It should have started to adhere to it. Yep. Do we have an issue in GitHub for this? We've got several issues that we can probably consolidate and have someone do a more thorough review of this. I don't think I need the article ID being passed through. Let's move this to another file. Okay. So now when I go to fetch and bring back the article history DTOs, right? The article reading DTO, right? The 33 references. Oh my gosh. My history page, right? That's fetching this here. Now it should have renamed that to slug history. Let's do that. All right, so this is going to fetch using the get article with histories query. And it sends that. So let's go down into here, find the references to this. Here it is. Now where it's handling that, get article with histories by slug query. Here it is. Article reading service. Get article with histories by slug. That one. And now I can actually right click and I can use, where is it? Go to implementation. Haha. Return mapper map article reading DTO await history get article with histories repository get article with histories by slug. Let me go to that and I'll right click and go to implementation again. What do you mean it has no implementations? Of course it has an implementation. Don't expose internal IDs. Agreed. Oh yes. I'm not. So get article. This should be down here in repositories. This is article repository. Get articles with histories by slug. Include, here we go. That is article history DAO. Do you see what I think happened here? Article history DAO. Singular default, so that should match, and then convert article to domain, which takes those article history objects and converts them to a domain object. Fine. And then this returns up. Oh, rats. I lost all the files I was browsing through. Oh, come on. Right, so I'm finding this. Going to the references. It's being handled here. Right? Get article with histories by slug. It's going into article reading service. Get article histories by slug. I'm going to right click and say go to implementation. Okay. Get article histories by slug is mapping to an article reading DTO. Get article with histories by slug from the article repository, which is here, which is mapping I think we had it crisscrossed because this is, right, this is article history DAO. And it's being included and it's being cast to a domain, which is converting article history DAO to an article history domain object. So it's returning that up, which is coming into my article history service and mapping an article domain object into an article reading DTO. Right, and this is inside of... Come here, where are you? Here inside the application. So we have a mapping that we need to look at here. Where's that mapping? Where's that mapping? Shouldn't it be... Or is that rolling up to the entire website? It shouldn't be rolling up to the entire website, right? Oh, article reading profile. There we go. Create map article to article reading DTO. Right. Right. Now this is blowing up because it doesn't... Yeah, right? Because it doesn't know article to article reading DTO, unmapped properties, slug history, and article history, which were being just done right here. Ha-ha! For member, all right. So the destination is, well, let's start with article history. Map from. So the article history is history. Yes. Okay. Destination, we're going to go to, not slug history. Map from source. And we don't have a slug history now on our domain object. You see that? So let me go back. So there's article history. There is no slug history here. The plot thickens. So let's create that. Slug history. And call it... No. Okay. So I have that now. So let's continue unwinding here. Okay, I've got 15 minutes. So let's pop that down. Let's say dot include. No. So we don't have a link to the article slug history either in our DAO object. Yeah, we had a crisscross mapping. No, you're not spamming chat at all, Brave Cobra. I think folks are listening quite nicely. So let's take a look at our DAO object. And there is no relationship between this and slug history. No, there isn't. See that? Okay. Hey, Janescu. You were in a party. So if I do public virtual I collection, so I'm going to... We have all of this data. It's not a question of do we have the data. It's we've got to push it around. The data's in the database. We're just mapping it back and forth. So we're going to do this. Because we have all these objects. Da, 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 da. Slug history equals article dot. Okay. Oh, I need to do a select on this so I can convert it. H dot. Oh no. No. Slug history DAO from, I need a from domain. I don't have one of those. All right, so let me jump over, let me finish down here. Put these in the right order. Slug history equals. Yeah. Slug history, select. Yeah, there was a to domain, to hash set. All right, so now I've got slug history coming out in a domain from a DAO, but from the slug history DAO. Right, slug, I have a to domain, I need a from domain. Those DAOs seem to be wanting automapper. Yeah, you're right. We could do something like that. All right, so if we're returning a slug history DAO, this is going to be a static from domain. And from domain, we need to actually have the domain object. So that is going to be a slug history. Let's just call that domain. Like that. Return new slug history DAO. Added equals domain dot added. Added date time equals. You know what? Don't need it. It gets converted. Isn't there a to, not to, how do we convert the article back? Educating people as if device supports stylus pens so they can use a natural way to use touch device cheap pens. Ugh. How am I converting that back? The article back. Article history has a way to do it. No. That's the domain object. Hang on. Article history DAO. Nice. It's not actually there. Do I really need the article coming back? Yeah, it is tedious and error prone. You are absolutely right. I'm going to skip that. ID equals domain ID. Domain dot old slug. Start there. Okay, so that should now convert back. And that, so we should be okay to receive that. How are we doing over here? Try and rerun that test. See if we're still missing our configurations. But I'm always open, always open to take pull requests if somebody wants to write that. Identifier expected. Ah, I'm over here. So map from. Yeah, so this should now go slug history. And that should recompile, should rerun my tests. Yes, please. I don't see the thing running here, so I don't think it's actually running it. Article DAO does not contain a definition for S. What? Oh. Include a slug history. There we go. Now it's running. Because I had a build failure before it didn't run. Pass all that through. Okay. On map properties, article history. And this is from article to article reading DTO. Okay, so that is in the profile. Not the website profile. And it's telling me from article to article reading DTO. And it can't map article history. It's right there. It's right there. Rebuild. I think we're just missing something there. We'll get that mapped and rerun. All right, there we go. Now my tests are running. Come on. Come on, tests. No. Article to article reading DTO. Right here above my head. And it's saying that article history isn't mapped. And create new article command to domain article doesn't have slug history. Oh, we've got a bunch of these. All right, hang on. Article to article reading DTO. It's saying article history isn't mapped. It's right there. It's right there. So I'm not sure why that one. Why that isn't working. Right, article history DTO and article history. Oh, well, we don't have that. Right, so we're hang on, we're coming from the domain article history. And we're going to article history DTO. Well, that actually helped a bit, didn't it? Because now it cleared off that other one. Create new article command to article does not map. Create new article command does not map slug history. Well, I don't have create new article command here. So let's add that map. Create map. Ugh. Create map. Create new. Now, where's create new article command? Create new article. You know what? I should do it over here. Create new article command. There it is. 12 references. Where is... There it is. Create new article command to article. And it's saying it doesn't have slug history. Well, we should ignore it, right? We're ignoring our slugs here anyway. Slug history. M.ignore. That should clear up some of these. There we go. A little bit more. Create skeleton article command. I'm getting rid of this one. I'm getting rid of that skeleton article right now. Next one. Article reading DTO to article history. All right. Article reading DTO. 33 references. Oh, dear Lord. Where is it? There's the map. But it's not going article reading DTO to article history. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be... Right, those are two different objects that shouldn't be converted one from the other. Article... Right? To article history. Somewhere it's trying to map that. Right, so that is passing an article reading DTO into an article history. Okay, so this is going to be in the website profile. Here. Keeping an eye on my time. Yeah, I've got to wrap up here. Article reading DTO to article history. And it hasn't mapped history. There is no history object for it because it's changed. No. So history, which is a collection of article history detail. Map from. Right? Map from? Yeah. Article history. That should do it, right? I think that... I should have finished working almost an hour ago. Oh no, Code for Veronica. I think we got it. So now I think we have all of our tests working. Let me go back over to the history. And so instead of doing this for each here, I can actually put the user manager. If I make this public, what I can do then, instead of this, I can actually on here, when we output the author name, instead do model user manager, get user, no, find by ID and pass in history, author ID. And if that does find someone, I need to await that. History.author ID. Why am I... oh, toString. If it does find someone... Ah, come on. Why? There we go. Oops, we're going to need another parentheses. If it does find someone, return their display name. And I think we've got it. What's that, Janescu? Clarky's bulb. Nice. Very nice. Brian Clark's light bulb there. All right, let's see what we got. I think this did it. I think this should be looking up our users properly. And looks like our friend Mark Miller is just getting started right as I need to jump off here. So let's just see if this works. Oh, that feels terrible. Why did that crash? And it's not going to tell me. Wonderful. And I gotta go. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark this as work in progress. And we will come back to this next time. Ah, come on. Did I get that right? Wow. Cool. All right, let's do this. Let's wrap up and bring on... Let's rate our friend Mark Miller there over on Code Rush. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining me. We removed a lot of information about user information from our system. We still have to remove a little bit more. I think we've almost got it, but we're isolating all of our user information in our user manager. If you want to hang out, you want to join our friend Mark, stay right there, and we'll see you next time. I'll be back on Thursday, and we'll clean this up a little bit more. All right? Take care.